Hello listeners and welcome to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying. Today we have a very special episode indeed, full of many special guests. Our first special guest today is none other than Ed Greenwood. Hello Ed, how are you today?
I am wonderful. Hello everybody.
Now Ed, I feel some people, hopefully, do know who you are very well, but there's a chance some listeners might not. So would you kindly tell the interweb, who is Ed Greenwood?
Ed Greenwood is a 60-year-old Canadian library worker who is most known to gamers for creating something called the Forgotten Realms. And 50-odd years later, I am still designing games every day.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure to have you here, Ed. As I was saying to Ed earlier, I'm a big fan of the Forgotten Realms, mainly from playing those sort of games as a kid, so I am very chuffed to have you on the show tonight. But, listeners, that's not all. We also have the one, the only, Liisa Lee! Hello!
Hello. You made it sound so ominous. I'm fine with that, though. I'm fine with that. Hi, everyone. How are ya? I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here and get to play with you guys finally, and get to play with my pal Ed is amazing.
I know, right? And again, Liisa, while some I really do hope know you from your many works on the online, if you will. If they don't know who you are you, Liisa Lee?
It all started when I am a voiceover actor here in Los Angeles, as you like to say over there, and a gamer geek from a very young age, and online D&D and Cthulhu player, and a baker, like that.
Candlestick maker as well.
I've never actually tried candlestick making, but my friends have. That's
wonderful. True. Again, real pleasure to have you here, Liisa. I've listened to a few of your works, so I'm again quite happy to have you here. And of course, last but not least, the master of darkness himself, Matthew Dawkins. Hello.
Hello again, Craig.
How are you this evening?
Wondering when I get to cash in my frequent flyer miles with Red Moon Roleplaying.
Nice.
Have I paid off the debt yet? Yeah, good to be here.
Excellent. And again, just in case someone hasn't been listening, who is Matthew Dawkins? What does he do?
That's true. I guess I'm not really known for work on Dungeons & Dragons. I am the line developer for the World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, for Onyx Path Publishing, and work on a whole myriad of games from World of Darkness, Chronicles of Darkness, They Came From Beneath the Sea, Call of Cthulhu, living the freelancer life, and it's a bit of a strange one, this one. It's an honour and also an oddity, because my first encounter with Ed was interviewing him on my YouTube channel, where probably close to 10 years ago, when I had significantly more hair, and the idea of writing role-playing games for a living was just a glint in my eye. So yeah, how far we've come.
And what are we all doing today? Well, listeners, we're going to play some old-fashioned Dungeons & Dragons with Ed Greenwood as the DM. I am very excited, and let us not delay any further. I will now hand the ancient tome to you, Ed.
Ooh, thank you. Okay, so you all know who you're playing, so very quickly, would someone like to announce their name and their character's name and what their character is with deity?
Today, listeners, I shall be playing Tashram, a 7th level priest. I am a human male with tall, craggy features and kindly of voice and manner, with unruly brown hair shot with silver and twinkling blue eyes. I often hum or whistle. I am a very nice, friendly priest of Tamura, the Lady of Luck, and I am a little bit of an adventurer, travelling the lands of Commune, and currently part of a little group working for an individual who all our characters perhaps share working with. So that's me, Tashram.
I am playing Bralagar, Priest of Tempus. While chaotic neutral in temperament, one could call me chaotic good when it comes to having a good time, and generally chaotic when it doesn't. I am a warrior priest of adventurous spirit. Grew up in the rather corrupt city of Hillsfar, but I didn't spend too long there. I ventured out into the Dale lands, where I plied my trade as a mercenary. Before entering the priesthood of Tempus, I was advised that the only way to truly become a warrior in his good graces was to adventure, to tour the realms, to see many a battle, visit many a town, see everything the people had to offer, and of course slay many a wicked monster where peace would not do. I'm not so far gone. I'm no follower of Garagos. I do not believe that all monsters must fall to my hammer, but I do believe that sometimes violence is the only answer when priests of Eldath just don't cut it.
I am playing Lashantar. Lashantar? Lash?
However you prefer.
I don't want to. I'll say this wrongly in front of Ed. That would make me so embarrassed. Let's just call her Lash. And she is a devout priestess of Lady Luck, Tamura. She's a human female with blonde hair and sparkling blue eyes. She was very serene at home being a devout priestess until she met up with a wonderful lady who was a harper, and gave her some information and gave her kind of a patron mentor to speak to, and now she's off adventuring.
Dun dun dun. So you are all members of the Baron's Blades. You serve the Baron of Hawk Hill. And all three of you are newly arrived in Suzail, the capital city of the Good Kingdom of Cormyr, after escorting a caravan transporting the Baron's valuable wares to buyers here. His valuable wares mainly consists of sheep wool, because the Barony of Hawk Hill mainly rears sheep. Enjoying a 10-day of free time ere the return caravan you must escort back to Alm is mustered, you taste the food, drinks, and entertainment Suzail has to offer, but are already growing bored with the tame, clean, so-called pleasures of the City of the Purple Dragon, when, as usual, trouble finds you. So, welcome to The Mystery of the Unicorn Chamber. So, you are sitting dining at a table in the back corner of the main dining room of the Prancing Pegasus, which is a rather upscale eatery on the promenade. And you are most of the way finished your meal, just relaxing, settling back, deciding whether or not you should order another couple of decanters of the excellent wine to wash down whatever they'll bring you for dessert, when you notice something unusual amongst the diners. A worried-looking purple dragon officer of some rank. You're not sufficiently familiar with Suzail to know exactly what the rank is, but he certainly acts like he's up there. He's escorting a distinguished-looking, well-dressed man towards your table. A grandee, if you will. And this grandee is surrounded by a ring of stern-looking purple dragon tellswords. And as he comes to a halt in front of you, you notice the dining room is emptying hurriedly. Diners are rising, without a word, and hastening out. Until you are alone with the soldiers and the personage they've brought you. He looks at you all with one of those practiced diplomatic gazes that sweeps around the table to make eye contact with each of you in turn, and then says, "Good day. I am Pelarian, Dragonet Palace Emissary of the War Wizards of Cormyr. And you are, of course, all priests from members of the Baron's Blades, I believe. I am here to offer you very well-paid temporary employment if you undertake a mission of some delicacy for the Forest Kingdom. Or I am here to offer you immediate exile if you refuse."
Well, that's quite a bargain.
Indeed. It sounds almost as if we can't say no.
I stand up from my chair. "Now there, Purple Dragon, Knight, War Wizard, whatever, in the Nine Hells. You may well say we are from Arm, but only 3 alliance past. We are from far around the realms, not just from that country to the west. You may feel that you can talk to us because we are from that rogue kingdom, but we are not. We are good citizens, fair and pure, of all manner of countries and cities. Would you speak to a fellow Cormyrian, such as," and I point over at our good friend Tashram, "such as he, I believe he is your fellow countryman. You cannot exile your own countryman, surely."
You going to finish that? I look at Tash, point at his plate.
I smile and say, "Yes, but after you."
Cher says thanks.
Well, to put it delicately, yes. You will be not... Well, perhaps you will be surprised at what I could do if pushed, but I have no desire to engage in pushing or any such contest. I was actually hoping that you could enrich yourselves and help us out in a little matter.
Well, far from it to not give aid when it is asked for, although will you humour us and at least say, why us exactly? Do you not have any other brave bands of roving adventurers?
No, not that are not already resident in Suzail and entangled, to put it elegantly. You see, this little matter we need investigated by someone not of the kingdom, nor part of any alliances or feuds among the Cormyrian noble houses. And I sort of need this done right away, so espying your good selves and seeing that you are all wholly servants, and therefore might be predisposed towards civility, not to say politeness, I chose you. But if Bralagar has any objection,
No objection. No objection, especially when it comes to the cause of enriching oneself. While I have heard many a tale that purple dragons are better suited to jousting with words than with lances, I can indeed see why you would hire mercenary priests such as we to get involved in your political schemes, dirty as they sound. So, certainly, what kind of enrichment are we talking?
Indeed, and what say you, Lash?
Well, we can't say no, right? So she just keeps picking off his plate little bits, and drinking her cider. Well, I think that, that is so good. Whatever the terms, I think we just have to say yes and, find the fun as we go, I'd say.
As Tamura herself would indeed say. Well then, fine sir, what exactly is it you would have us do? Keep in mind, we are good priests. I hope you're not going to ask us to do something nefarious or unpleasant or complicated.
I'm sure he will.
Well, we do deal in complicated quite often, but I assure you, I am not in the habit of asking holy servants to do anything nefarious. I just need something delicate investigated. And the Crown of Cormyr is prepared to give you all 2 potions of healing each, any spell scrolls arcane magic spell scrolls that lie within the purview of a war wizard of Cormyr, and appropriate monies. I was actually thinking of, say, 12,000 gold pieces in advance, and another 12,000 upon successful completion of your mission, which I am hoping will not prove fatal and will be accomplishable by, say, nightfall.
Well, friend, you had me at 12,000 gold pieces. Come, be seated.
Now, I'm perfectly willing to negotiate currency so that you could have it in gems plus a few coins for spending, so for easier transport. Or you can have a wagon with sacks of gold. It's entirely up to you.
Well, that sounds like a fine way to attract Zents. So, how is Suzail for shrines to Tempus? Because one thing my betters in the faith often tell me is I have never really seen fit to erect any kind of shrine or temple, and 12,000 gold pieces could go a long way to building some kind of holy structure, I imagine, albeit small, maybe a ceremonial hammer that some people... and I witter on as I sit down thinking about all the things that I could do.
Lash just finishes her cider and pushes the plate away and finally goes, well, I think we might be putting the statue before the horse here. And she swings around and gives a keen, calm eye to this gentleman, and she says, 12,000. That's quite a sum. By nightfall, you say. It doesn't quite sound like we'd be herding sheep. So, by nightfall, 12,000. That sounds like very high stakes indeed. Might want to fill us in on details.
Certainly, although remember, Lash, high stakes are a good thing.
Oh, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. I just would rather preparation, you know.
I do agree with Lash. It would be nice to know the exact details.
Let me first reassure Bralagar that we have not just a shrine, but a temple here. So, but if you'd like to spend some of your monies later to erect a shrine somewhere else, perhaps in Hawk Hill or easternmost Alm somewhere, I would be delighted. But, okay, let me tell you why I need adventurers. A mere bell ago, that's an hour, 2 prominent nobles of our fair realm, the Lords Ebonhawk and Weirvar, were meeting privately behind locked doors in the Unicorn Chamber, an upper room in a building maintained collectively by the Suzail resident noble houses to serve as neutral ground for moots among them. They were discussing, let me just put it, delicate matters of trade when something unknown happened. A horrible scream was heard. No one answered the shouted queries of the noble's bodyguards from outside the room, so those trustees broke down the doors and discovered Lord Weirvar bloodily dead on the floor, beheaded, and with no sign of that severed part of him being in the room anywhere, and no trace of Lord Veront Ebonhawk at all. So, that's why Cormyr needs this investigated. We need to get to the bottom of this immediately, if not sooner, before word gets out and the houses of Ebonhawk and Weirvar take up arms and start making accusations and rushing around the city trying to find someone to bury blades in. Do you appreciate why I need Outlander adventurers to hopefully settle this matter quickly?
While war is often a necessity, civil war is often a nuisance. That was a mantra. One of my fellow initiates when I first joined the faith. I could tell you all about him, and I'm sure maybe I will. But in the meantime, what do we know of this Ebon Hawk and his family? I suppose allegiances. Is he the kind that is prone to fits of violence, worship of strife, that kind of ill-doing?
No, neither of these lords is particularly, neither they nor their families, their noble houses, have any long history of violence. Like most, wealthy, rising in coin, younger nobles, and by younger I mean prime of life, 35 winters to 40 winters, that sort of thing, they tend to be headstrong, take charge, one might term arrogant if one was a commoner, nobles, but of course the nobles themselves merely pass this off as being noble, but no, they're not, they are not bloody-handed, they are not known for cruelty, they are not of those nobles whispered of for flogging and other atrocities. They are men of commerce rather than men of action, although they, of course, wear ceremonial swords and daggers and don't use them merely for cleaning their nails. But no, I would not call either of them hotheads or,
So you assume some third party, an assassin perhaps, that killed one and kidnapped the other?
I assume nothing, because that way lies pitfall after pitfall. I was hoping I could leave the assuming, rushing in, and getting in over your heads to you!
But of course, do you have any issues with some of the organizations of this world that can be responsible for such things, like the Shadow Thieves of Amun, or the Zents?
Or a bit more mundane as far as trade disputes, guildhall rivalries?
Oh, I am not sufficiently versed in the private lives of either of these two noble gentlemen to discount such a thing, but I can tell you that to the best of the knowledge of our superb local intelligence, if I say so myself, we know nothing of such enmeshments or entanglements. Both noble houses have in the past had dealings with the Zentrum, but every noble house has dealings with the Zentrum, even if it's only to show them the door. Because the Zentrum try with every single noble house, which is why we have house wizards. They try to eavesdrop.
The beheaded individual. Where are they, or their head, rather?
So we're looking for his head.
Yeah, you've got to get ahead in this world, that's what I always say.
No one ever said the purple dragons were without a sense of humour. Now...
So wait, the head is unaccounted for, but you had the body, yes?
Yes. I was hoping you would go and see it straight away, sort of thing. But I'm quite prepared to pay you money up front, or, if you'd prefer to accompany me quickly, mind you, to your respective temples, and have you pay it in trust there, so that you know it's secure, whatever you prefer.
Oh, no, at least speaking for myself, I like to take a man at his word. You see, I've encountered many men in the past who have attempted to betray their word, and me, and my peers, and whenever that happens, while there's that initial sense of shame and general betrayal, disappointment, it always ends up coming up trumps, because I end up squashing the man's head, and all is even in the afterlife. So, in other words...
We'll take it on a person, and, no need to visit my temple, but I would like to see the bodies. I would like to see
Yes. Well, if you'll trust me, here, have the potions. And he snaps his fingers, and the tell swords all in unison flip down their cod pieces. They have these giant, rigid metal cod pieces, and there are tubes inside, or cloth loops, canvas loops inside each one, and they draw out a stainless steel, cork-stoppered, wax-sealed vial, like a test tube, only metal, out of each. They've got 2 of these in per codpiece, and they pull out one and solemnly hand it to you.
Keeping it warm, I see.
I clap Tashram on the shoulder. No room for something like that in yours, eh, Tashram?
I laugh because I actually do find what he said funny, and I'm in good spirits, even though you will, both of my companions will have noticed I did pale a little at all the talk of beheading and government ploys, because I'm not really into that sort of thing. I'm more of the go and find the dragon's gold kind of person. But I smile and say, yes, well, I suppose we'll be going and seeing a corpse.
Oh, is the corpse still in this unicorn chamber of which you
speak? I certainly trust so, says Valerian.
Well, I hope it didn't get up and walk away.
And you each get handed a second slightly warmed vial. Would you like any deposit of monies, or would you just trust me?
While I do trust you, and I do. She just kind of gives him the eyes. I would like fair bargain, you know, equal exchange for things. We are going to be elbow deep in corpses in a moment, so it's always good to bless the proceedings with
right
coin.
Valerian turns and looks meaningfully at one of the purple dragons, who unhooks a strap from around his shoulder, and it's a sort of, well, you would call it a knapsack. And it's bulging, and it looks very heavy, and he had it just over one shoulder, and Valerian places it, clunk, on the table in front of you. It looks full and heavy of something metallic and clinking. 1,000 gold pieces.
That'll do. Yeah.
That would make a good club.
Would you each like one, or would you prefer to be unencumbered?
I am fine to wait. For me, the joy is in the journey, as opposed to the payment.
Well, I believe the joy is in the payment, but I trust you, good sir, to keep a hold of my share, because, after all, to betray the word of a deed like this is to betray the Church of Tempus, and you do not want to be betraying the Church of Tempus.
No, I do not.
I can assure you, you don't want to. He's not joking. He can get quite angry. It's funny sometimes.
Yeah, he gets grumpy. Can I insight his intentions here? Can I insight check that?
Sure.
Just to see if how up and up he is being?
Sure. Roll a d20.
That is a 19.
You are certain that Valerian is guilty in his life of no more than what you might call little white lies for diplomacy's sake. He is as smooth as a palace diplomat has to be. But he is loyal to Cormyr, he has his best interests at heart, and as far as you can discern, has not told you a falsehood or a partial truthhood since encountering you today. He seems to be totally on the up and up. He's also worried, as in, inside he's going, get on with it, come on, let's go, come on, Jesus,
I'm going to take my holy symbol on my chainmail belt and shake his hand, and then place my symbol on top of the shake and say, "A deal is struck, and we'll get to the bottom of this for you, I hope."
Thank you, my holy lady. Thank you. Cormyr thanks you. I thank you. All of these purple dragons thank you. Let's get going.
She takes a look at all the purple dragons. She goes, "We'll see."
And several of them break Stoneface long enough to go, the sort of sly, slow wink that they freeze in place and wink hard enough to lift their upper lips and display their dental work. Lack of saying. There are many purple dragons who... these are the sort of tough guys when they were going through school, so they would borrow their father's files and file their teeth into point.
Nice.
For effect, you understand?
Well done, all of you.
Here's hoping Lady Luck is with us. I suppose it's time to investigate a grisly murder. Oh my goodness, it's almost like something out of a bard's song.
Yeah, so dirge.
And the purple dragons all nod in unison and clap their codpieces back up into place in unison. And then they turn in unison towards the back door of the dining room behind you. And Polarian smiles at you and does that rise from your seats gesture.
Oh, yes.
Yes, rise. I steal a last bit of biscuit off a plate. Take a really surreptitiously quick look around to see if anyone is really interested in what is happening.
Dining room is deserted. They all left. So that all of this has been conducted in relative privacy. I mean, there's a ring of purple dragons listening to everything, but there are no other diners. They just put down everything. Some of them sort of picked up their wine glasses as they stood up, drained them, and walked out, winking their eyes at, several gallons of alcohol going down the pipe at one shot.
Nice.
But yeah, they left. It was like, uh-oh, don't want to be here, don't want to be overhearing, don't want to be seen as a witness, no. And they all left it. So the back door awaits, and this ring of purple dragons is around all of you now, and your table.
I feel so safe. And she takes a vial of holy water out of her pouch and quickly dabs it on like perfume. She dabs it on holy places, her perfume puts it back, she's ready.
The backs of the knees, the palms of the hands.
Yes.
Just under the ears.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Lash, last time I saw a ring of burly men quite like this one was in Tethir. Of course, they were all naked, and so was I. Teeth were similar, gait was different, but did you see the way they handled their cocks? Really brought to mind the way the Tethirians do it. Quite something. Their hand play. Whew, you'll have to come out that way sometime.
I want to hear this story later.
I can tell you, no men handle their own cocks better than those from Tethir.
Now, Baragar, you do have to promise on this one that you hold back a little on the whole in the name of Tempus. But I think we need to be subtle on this investigation.
He is right. He is very wise, subtle, and quiet on this one.
And yes, here in Cormyr, I must tell you, Polarian says, we separate the roosters from the hens because you get too many little chickens and not enough eggs.
That's a very wise saying. I might write that down for later.
Mm-hmm. There are purple dragon backs all around here you could write on, should you wish. But in the meantime, please follow me. And he hustles you out the back door and down an alleyway outside.
Wonderful. I will follow,
follow.
Sure my equipment and my pack is all ready, seeming in a good mood with my companions who I do enjoy the company of, and already whistling a little to myself.
Lash is very, very happy to be surrounded by handsome, burly dragons.
And are the handsome, burly dragons carrying your 1,000 pieces of gold for you, or are you carrying it yourself? In the knapsack, I presume.
In the knapsack.
Yeah.
In the knapsack. I will make friends with one and say, if I need to hand this to you, you're going to be okay, right? Good.
And he smiles at you and accepts it and holds it before him as if he's holding the holy pineapple of
right.
the Tamura.
So, as we're walking quietly also, so Pal, don't know any other houses that they may be fighting with? Do we know what that trade dispute was about? Those sensitive talks, does anyone have any ears on that? As we're walking, talking.
I believe it had, yes, he takes you to the end of the alleyway and there's a cross street. And he looks both ways out of the alleyway in this sort of stage pantomime of and then you all hustle across the road to the other end of the alley, across the road, and there's a side door, and he raps on it, and it's immediately opened from within, and you are hurrying up narrow stairs. And as you are doing so, he is saying to you, I believe the trade negotiations involved Sambia, but then around here, many of the trade negotiations involve Sambia because the Sambians are trying to use their coin to worm their way into property ownership or company share ownership everywhere. So this is nothing unusual. The question would be, who are the Sambians fronting for? The Zentrum, or someone more sinister, like the Red Wizards, or Cabals in Chacenta, or old money in and Tessir? We really don't know, but obviously something went wrong. And by the time he's finished telling you that, you have gone up the back stair in a building that you recognize as housing a haughty and fashionable dining club known as Arenas, which all three of you took one look at the menu prices posted on the front door and said, no thank you, and did not dine there. But he's leading you up this back stair into this long, straight corridor, which seems to run the length of this upper floor. This corridor has settees down one side of it, split up with little tiny marble plinth side tables, and on the other side of it are double doors. And each of these double doors has a bas-relief that is cut in half by the doors when they open, of the head of a creature. And you pass the wolf head, and you pass what looks like a dragon head, and then you come to a unicorn head. Now, there's these brightly polished, closed copper doors are on one side. On the other side of this corridor are what is obviously the bodyguards of these two noble lords, because they're all wearing armbands, shoulder flashes, with the livery of the noble houses, the badge, simple badge, and they're sitting there looking glum with purple dragons in full armor and full weaponry standing over them. And the purple dragons are standing over them in the attitude of guards everywhere. You know, thumbs thrust into their belts on either side of the codpiece as they stare down past their codpieces at the seated men threateningly, and sort of are uncomfortably close to them, so they are looming over them. The copper door that Valerian stops in front of has been forced open, as in somebody has put a shoulder to it and what presumably was either a scabbarded sword or a crowbar or something, and bent the copper so they could force the latch apart so they could get in. And what he does here is indicate to you that the two doors can freely swing inward now, and he steps back and gestures to you to have at it.
I will smile, say, I do approve of the door knocker. Lovely design. But I will gently push open the door.
You behold a windowless room, clad in marble. Walls, floor, and ceiling, all clad in gleaming, polished marble. White marble, except for the veining. This room is 40 feet square. Its ceiling is 10 feet up. You see no doors or any sign of what might be a door anywhere. And in the center of the room is a large, lush, white fur carpet, a priceless snowbear fur carpet that's now befouled by Lord Wyvernar's blood. His headless body is lying sprawled on its back on the carpet near one of its edges, and there is indeed no sign of his head. Wirvar's remains lie on one side of a large table made of a single slab of polished oak as thick as a man's hand, supported on 2 polished slices of oak tree trunk. You can see nothing under the table at first glance, or stuck to its underside either, and this table offers no concealment to anyone. It's simply a slab on 2 pillars. 2 grand high-backed chairs were obviously drawn up on either side of the table so the sitters could face each other. But one chair, the one on the side farthest from the sprawled body, now lies toppled over on its side. The room is lit by a magical glowing globe that hovers overhead. You've seen many such all over Faerun. This one has been set to emit a soft, gentle, yellow light like expensive candles give, yet steady light rather than flickering. 2 gleaming suits of full coat of plate armor, complete with gauntlets, helms, gorgets, and fully metal-spatted boots, providing complete body coverage, stand at the back of the room, on either side of a life-size, sculpted, rearing white marble unicorn that the chamber is obviously named for. It's a male unicorn, you can tell from the carving.
Naturally.
On the wall to your left is a huge, as in long, magnificent, rather dusty old painting of nobles on horseback hunting stags through deep forests. And on the wall to your right is a similarly huge, long, magnificent, and rather dusty old painting of nobles looking heroic on a sprawling battlefield. The table also sports 4 quill pens in a stand that also holds an ink bottle. Various dark-hued fine wines sit in 6 partly full, most are about half full, decanters on the table. 2 goblets standing hard by them contain the dregs of drunk wine, and on the table between them are strewn 4 scrips of parchment with writing on them.
I step into the room first, look to my companions, do a little gesture. Well, friends, my lord, would you mind if the 3 of us just had a little moment in the room to ourselves? I feel if everyone comes in here at once, it'll make quite a ruckus.
No. We have no intention of stepping across the threshold. Go right ahead. If you'd like us to close the doors behind you and afford you privacy, that too is acceptable.
Yes, please do.
Yes, please.
Okay. So Pelerin ushers you in, and then draws the 2 halves of the door closed again with himself on the outside. And everybody else on the outside. It's just the 3 of you. And what's left of Lord Wirvar.
Well, that poor rug, that's a mess. I'm going to start on the left. And I'm going to... There's nothing immediately on the left except the wall and one of the paintings, right?
That's right.
So I'm going to I want to walk around the whole scene first, slowly, but I'm going to be brushing my hand along that painting to see if I can feel... Check behind it. Is there a door? Check in it. Am I really touching it?
You're really touching it. It's a painting on cloth. It's quite old.
The hunting stags.
It is dusty, so you are actually disturbing dust. And it is real. There's a solid wall behind it, and you press down a little more firmly as you run along. It's all hard marble, and you can see finely mortared seams where one slab of marble ends and the next one begins, and there is indeed a slight declivity there, but there's nothing out of the ordinary. You can't feel anything. It's like hinges. When you sort of push on them with your fingertips, nothing gives. Nothing feels like it could give. It feels solid. Solid wall.
I just had an idea, Lash.
Yes.
The wizard, he mentioned Red Wizards of Thay.
He did. What do you know of them?
Well, I just thought just came to me. I once knew a red wizard of Thay, a woman. I think she called herself an illusionist. She was bald as a 10-day without wine is long, but had surprisingly hairy hands. And I go over and start examining the suits of armour, opening the visors.
Which armor are you opening first?
I'll go to the one to the left of the unicorn.
Okay. The suit on the left, as you notice as you approach, has a breastplate with hinges down the left side. This would be under the arm and down the side. There are hinges.
Quite a complex device. Probably ease with putting it on if there's a hinge down the side. Look, I give it a tap. Dink, dink.
It rings metallically. It rings not as if it's hollow, but it doesn't have that solid, meaty thump either. It doesn't sound like there's a body inside this suit of armor. It doesn't seem that there's anybody wearing it. But it also, if you hung your armor strapped together on a drying frame, it would echo and give off a lot more sound and would move a lot more easily.
Very much so. If there's a hinge, that means on the opposite side to the hinge there is presumably some kind of clasp or flap that I can pull at.
Yes, there is indeed a clasp.
I will unhook it.
And suddenly, nothing happens. But it happens suddenly.
Hello? Who's in here? No one. But does it go anywhere? Does it,
Are you going to swing it open?
Oh, yes.
Okay. You swing it open, and you behold the inside of the suit of armor. It's empty, except it has been fitted with metal shelves. On the bottom metal shelf is what looks like a lidded chamber pot. On the shelf above it are several washcloths all neatly folded, and bowls. On the shelf above that are 2 ewers of water, or at least you assume it's water. It's some sort of liquid that is cold enough that moisture has condensed, beaded all over the outside of these metal ewers. And on the top shelf is a cigar lighter, a flint and steel striker box with a clip on one end to hold cigars, and a bowl of fruit.
I am disgusted. How insulting! Some brave warrior might have fallen, or fought, or died, or been victorious in this armour, and now it's being used to house a chamber pot. If my armour is ever used like this, let my ghost come back to haunt the fitter of this vile furniture. Pooh!
Now, Ralagar, it has a certain whimsy to it, although it does make me wonder what some people spend their coin on. Oh, so red wizards. Yes, Lash. My view on red wizards is... why red? Why not blue or green? It tends to affect their temperament, I think.
It's to hide the blood.
Now, the body. I sort of, as I'm saying that to the others, I just sort of step over. Now, would I know, being an individual with the power of speaking with the dead, in the case of a decapitated body, will the spirit still be willing to speak?
I had thought of that.
The spirit is willing, but the flesh is lacking a mouth.
I did think perhaps that lacking a mouth would make problems.
But yes, you know how to word the spells so that if a spirit is lingering, and presumably this one is freshly dead enough that it might, or you might be able to call it back by your spell, presumably it will speak to you.
My dear Lash, perhaps we could attempt a communion with the recently departed.
I love seances. Let's do it.
Well, I'm happy to do it, or let you do it. You have been trying to practice it lately, haven't you?
Yeah, well... I'll get it. Okay. All right.
You will get it, Lash. I always am very disappointed when you have no faith in yourself. You are already becoming a very skilled priest of Tamura. Isn't that right, Bramlagar?
Okay.
I wouldn't know about becoming a skilled priest of Tamura, but you're certainly a skilled healer.
Thank you. Yeah, what she goes to check, while he says that, she goes to check she pops the corks on these healing potions and gives them a sniff to see if they're flavored, and if they're not, she'll just wrinkle her nose and roll her eyes and tuck them in her pouch. But let's
they're not flavored.
Damn.
Or scented.
Damn. Silly merchants. Okay, so let's do this. I agreed. Let's see what this poor fellow has to say.
Indeed. As Lash is getting ready, I will kneel by the body, and I will just, while she's getting ready, do a little cursory physical examination.
His head is missing.
I'm glad that is still the case.
There's a stump that his neck now ends in. It's still oozing blood, but all the arterial pumping is over and all over the rug, which, by the way, is going to be an absolute bitch to clean.
Is he still in possession of his belt, his perhaps pouch, or things on his person?
Belt, pouch, papers?
He's still got clothes on, but no, you rather suspect if he stood up, his pants would fall down. Because the belt and pouches are missing.
Who would rob a noble in a room meant for neutral ground? That's rude. I mean, besides the beheading thing.
Savage.
Not to mention, Lash, I don't know about you, but I almost wonder if someone was hoping we would notice that and assume this was simply a robbery, but...
cheap tell.
I'd say that would be a damned fool. I mean, this is a far from or inauspicious place to commit some simple muggery.
Exactly.
And as they do that, I'm going to dip my holy symbol in each of those in the cabinet, in the suit of armor cabinet. I'll absent-mindedly kind of dip them in there just to make sure that they're water. Smell that. Is it water? Is it wine? Is it arcane? Just water.
Just water.
Any cigars there still? Just the cutter and the flint.
Inside the cigar striker, inside the flint and steel box, is one spare flint and 3 very thin. We would call them cigarillos, but I doubt very much that the realms has heard of Colts or Old Port or anything of the sort.
Oh, look, gifts. I'll take those. Tuck them in my pouch. Hand one to Brelagar.
It's been rolled on the thighs of a behir.
Give it another sniff.
Nice. And as he does that, I'm going to keep walking around the room again. Check the other suit of armor.
And check how.
Tink, 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 tap, tap.
So, Lash
Hello, anyone home?
Goes tink, tink on the suit of armor, and suddenly there is no Lash in the room. She is gone.
I raise an eyebrow in surprise, stand up and say, Barrelagar, I haven't been drinking again, have I?
Not for the last bell or two. You know, this isn't the first time a woman has said she's going to go and examine my armor and then just disappear when I turn around. But I suspect there's a little more to this than her taking the door.
Quite.
She was tapping the armor, wasn't she?
That does seem to be what was going on. Let me have a look. Can I go to the same armor? I frown a little.
Yes.
I look at Barrelgar and I go, I'd be very surprised if this was some sort of deadly trap in, a nice tavern where nobles meet. So maybe it's simply some sort of teleportation.
Well, you worship luck, so I guess you take it in your hands. Frankly, I think I trust Lash to be able to look after herself wherever she is. Hell, she could have been sent to the Abyss, and I imagine she's holding her own. I think I'll, I don't know, have a look at that unicorn, but by all means, tap on the armor, and I'll catch up. Hopefully
I'll be right back. Just before I tap on the statue, I have a feeling to go, wait. Guards!
Polarian its head appears as one half of the two double doors opens just enough, and he said, "How many guards do you require?"
Well, actually, Polarian, just the person I'd want to speak with, being a man of magical matters. Is this room supposed to have a sort of secret back exit where when you tap, I point to the statue, this statue here, you vanish?
Absolutely not. And it's something we would like to investigate after you're done your investigation.
Well, 1/3 of us is already done.
Oh, you've lost the priestess.
Well, now, sir, you didn't inform us that tapping this statue would do interesting things. I'm now going to do the same.
I was unaware that tapping this suit of armor would... This is all noble stuff. We have no truck with this room. But if it affords a way into and out of Suzail, or about Suzail, with translocation, we want to know about it, we war wizards. But no, yes. Do you need me for anything else?
Well, we were going to attempt a communion with the Dilli departed as well. Hopefully we'll be able to do that very shortly. Well, Barrelgar, if you watch my back for a moment, let me...
I'm sure we can trust this war wizard, but sure, I'll watch your back, handsome as it is.
I will kneel down beside the body of the Dilli departed, taking out my holy silver disc dedicated to Tamura, and enchant the incantation that normally will allow one to commune with the recently departed.
Let the dead speak freely. Right. And you complete your spell. Your holy symbol pulses with a very brief radiance and is itself again.
Greetings, Lord. Wivinar. Can you hear me? I am a priest of Tamura.
Yes.
I am sorry for your loss of life.
And ahead.
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened to you?
No.
Ha!
No. Did you not see your death coming? Were you perhaps talking to someone and suddenly you were dead?
Yes.
I see. Do you know anyone who would wish you dead?
Yes.
Can you give some names?
No.
Can you say anything other than yes or no, my dear departed lord? It would be most useful if you could. No? Alas.
Raulerson is cracking up at this half-arsed attempt by a priest of luck to commune with the dead. I'm slamming my hand on the table.
Well, you know, Raulerson, if you could do it better, why don't you come over and do it?
Oh, why would I stop this comedy routine?
I do believe the individual has so been released from his death that he obviously is still confused. Out of interest, what god did you worship in life, my good man?
Either yes or no, I would assume. Although, I can't say I'm familiar with them. My friend, you have not been on the battlefield many times, but sometimes when a body suffers a brutal death, their mind, what is left of it, resorts to...
Yes!
Indeed, simple yeses and nos.
Wait, I have an idea.
Yes.
Is there a way of leaving this room that you were killed in magically?
Yes, no?
Some progress. Did you see the third member of our party earlier?
I think he was dead.
His spirit may have been lingering on the scene, Raulerson. No.
I elbow Tashram out the way. Tempus, channel my voice to the deceased. Let him hear the boom of thunder, hammers, and horses' hooves, and hopefully rouse him to a state close to when he was alive. The zest of life, of war, and so forth.
Oh, another one of these rude brutes who worships Tempus. Hello!
Well met, my friend.
Really? Is it? Have you found my head anywhere?
Well, for one of us, it's been quite a day. For true, there's very little we have to ask if you cannot identify your assailant, but it is quite important if your companion...
Some dragon's ass behind me with a very sharp sword. Never saw him.
No, that's what I assumed.
And I assumed the room was empty, aside from, Ebonhawk.
Did Ebonhawk also fall before you did?
No, he was getting up so fast he fell over, and his chair fell over with him, and he did not look like he expected this at all. He was yelling something frankly I shouldn't repeat in
Oh, please
public.
do.
No, it was... you see, when he gets excited, his childhood problem and stammer return, and he starts to swear with half of each word all mangled together, so it's quite amusing if you're not him. And that's what he was doing. He was obviously astonished, and not in a good way, by what he saw. And then I saw nothing else, aside from feeling the most unpleasant... Have you ever choked on your own blood?
I've choked on someone else's, but that's a long story that I don't feel you want right now. I only have one more question for you, Lord, before you pass on to...
Yes.
Whichever divine afterlife you are destined for.
No.
Do you feel the subject of your meeting, was it likely to draw any particular enemies?
No.
No?
No.
A simple trade matter.
What? Yes, was it simply a trade matter you were discussing, or was there something else you were...
Yes, we were actually discussing whether or not we should purchase some slum properties here near the west wall of Suzail now, or wait. Whether the sellers, who by the way are yet another noble family operating through intermediaries, would give up before the places started to fall down and lower the price a little just to unload them, so we could buy them.
Who's this family?
Oh, it is of no consequence. No. They consist of old widows and embittered aunties. They don't know what they're doing. They're not in the habit of hiring thugs or anything. They're scatterhawk.
Some of my finest nighttime companions have been old widows and bitter aunties. Now, I could tell you a tale that would send you off to Tempest's battlefield with a great smile on your ethereal face, but I feel we must catch up with our companion wherever she's gone. Rest well, my lord. I feel that your death, as bloody and painful as it was, is at least kind of warrior's death.
Find my head, damn it.
Well, we'll do our best. I can't say it's our priority. There's still your living companion to locate after all.
My living companion? Oh, you mean Lord Ebonhawk. I was going to say, I left my mistress quite fine in her Suzail mansion. She was fine when I saw her last.
Well, if you give me directions, I'll ensure she is found fine again.
Oh, Barrelagar. Thank you, friend. May Tamura bless you.
Thank you.
Bit late for luck.
Well, you never know. He might not believe in any gods and be going to the Wall of the Soulless, and I can assure you, from what I've heard, that's pretty awful.
Let's not torment the man more. He's already been decapitated today.
Yes, it's been a bad day, yes.
Once again, time to flip the coin of fate, and I go up to the suit of armor and tap it 3 times.
Boop! Suddenly, the room has only one priest in it. Raulerson, Hammer of Tempest. He stands alone in the unicorn chamber, except for the headless corpse. And you could see through the gap of where the ruined double doors don't quite meet. Hilarian's eyeball. And you hear him say softly to somebody else, "Progress is now only one of them."
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played The Mystery of the Unicorn Chamber for Dungeons & Dragons and the Forgotten Realms. Our Dungeon Master was none other than the creator of the Forgotten Realms himself, Ed Greenwood, and we were also joined by the Gentleman Gamer Matthew Dawkins and Liisa Lee. The music was created by Ager Sonis and was used with permission from their label, Cryo Chamber. We also used music from Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2 by Michael Honig, used with permission from Beamdog. If you aren't already playing the enhanced editions of these classic games, now is a great time to begin. We would also like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, and David, for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and see you soon again.